Do more with less. This has been a very common, I can honestly say, a common occurrence in my life, in where I would have to do more with less. Let me just explain it, okay? And I know that this is not a very common topic to talk about, but it's a topic nonetheless. So, I've always wondered how champions are made and how people become champions in the worst of circumstances. Let me just explain. There's a common belief that for a fighter or a boxer, the more shitty looking their gym is, there's a higher amount of potential that they're going to become champions. However, the reverse of it is, if you go and want to become a professional fighter or a professional athlete in a sense, and your gym is by far the most well equipped, like there's a perspective in where people will say you're not ready to be champion. You cannot be champion because you didn't come from the mud, you didn't come from the dirt, you didn't come from the grime. And honestly, I could relate to a sense. I'm not saying that I'm not privileged in my life. I do have some privileges, and I honestly feel like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given everyone unfair advantages to an extent. Everyone has an unfair advantage. A lot of people try to disregard that about themselves and try to say that, oh, I don't have any unfair advantages in my life. Bullshit. That's all. That's honestly what I can say. Bullshit. Because everyone has unfair advantages. It just depends on what you're trying to look at. However, just let me allow me to explain about this perspective of do more with less, or why you must do with less. So, at one point in my life, I really wanted to do YouTube, but I had this perspective of like, well, I have to have the best camera, I have to have the best equipment, I have to have this pocket vlogger DJI Pocket 1, I have to buy a DSLR camera, I have to do all these things, I have to do all these, I have to buy all this, I have to prepare everything. And then I'm going to be able to start. However, looking at where I'm now, I'm just using my iPhone. The same iPhone that I use as a secondary phone, not even my main phone, that I'm using the camera, the front camera, especially like the selfie camera, to record this. The audio might not be the best, it might not be substantial to an extent. However, I'm doing it. There's a very common belief with doing more with less. There's always this almost romanticization of coming from the dirt, coming from like hard struggles, in where I had to put more work than all these other people combined. And yes, that might be true. However, a lot of people might not be able to relate to that because of the fact that a lot of people don't know what is supposed to be done. A lot of people don't have that initiative. Let me just give an example, right? If you go to the gym, if you go to the most well-equipped gym in the world, I'm saying like they have all the machines for every part of your muscle. They even have a machine for your armpit. Let's just say, right? They have a machine for every part of your body. However, there's another gym that only has barbells and dumbbells. Let's take two people, all right? Two people in the same circumstance. They're trying to get fit. One boy or this one person can only go to the cheap gym, which only has a barbell and dumbbells. The dumbbells go up to, let's just say, 50 kilograms, and the barbells, it's not really the best. It's rusty, it's crankly and everything. It's just breaking down, and they don't really have the best machines, but the essentials are there. The essentials. And then you see the person going to the gym that has all the equipment in the world. However, what's happening to a sense is that person, depending on if they are the same individual, let's just say they're both in the same mind state, they have the same thought processes, they have the same personality. It's like a one-to-one image. It's just that apparently the guy who went to the cheap gym, he's busting his ass, and the guy who's essentially having the Olympic center of a gym is doing it so-so. And You'll be surprised more often than not. The ones who have less are the ones who are putting in 10 times the amount of work. They're putting in more reps because they know that they can't replicate all the finest details, but they can hammer down on the basics. Doing more with less is that embodiment. I might not have the best equipment, but I have equipment nonetheless. It's like that rock. It's like when Rocky was supposed to fight Ivan Drago. Ivan Drago was essentially a science experiment. He was a science experiment made by the Russians. And here's Rocky, good old American boy, good old the Italian stallion, doing by far the most rugged exercises ever. And he beat it. He beat him. A lot of people might say, oh, that's just movie magic. Reality is, the person who has all the scientific things are the ones who are gonna be more successful in a fight, and plus the height advantage, the weight, and whatever. Fair, fair. However, the energy, the spirit, or the level of discipline and grit and determination that you get just from hammering down on what people would say is the bare minimum given, doing more with less and just pumping it out and just doing it. Well, sooner or later, you are going to be the person who gets to that point and you can access towards those finer machines. However, I do believe that to an extent you have to make yourself worthy. And I'm not saying that in an insecure perspective, but how would you appreciate what you have if you don't fully master what you currently have? Or like, how can you essentially be a master in something without doing the basics? And how can you appreciate the next level if you don't appreciate or master what you know already? A lot of people don't have that perspective. A lot of people have a hard time trying to access that. And honestly, that's a shame. That's a shame. Because when you get to that level, you can actually see the level of determination, the grit, the discipline that it takes. And a lot of people might say, well, that's almost impossible. I dare say that is a load of cow shit. You can do it. You don't need the most fancy equipment. Kai Green said it best in his documentary. Kai Green said that you want, like, all these opportunities, all these glimmering lights, they only come from you hammering down on the basics and getting them right. The moment you get the basics right, the moment you get those basics just right, you will see that God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or whatever you would like to call your God, I call him Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because it is a masculine figure, because he is the God of everything. I have to make myself worthy for it. Because how can Allah pour blessing into a cup that is shattered and broken and not taken care of? Allah's trying to pour his blessings on me, but I'm currently a shitty cup. Why not I just polish my cup? Why not I make it better? Why not I become the person who can accept and fulfill those blessings that I want fulfilled in my life? I'm asking a lot from Allah right now. I'm asking a lot from Allah. You have no idea how much I prayed. But I need to be the person that can essentially carry the weight of the blessing that comes. Because every blessing also becomes a test. Is this what you really want? Is this the thing that you really want? Then handle it. And I'm truly grateful that my Rabb will never give me a test that I cannot handle, because I know that he knows everything. So to tie it in a knot, essentially, the ability to do more with less is a key aspect to success. What are you going to do when everything's not nice? What are you going to do when your car is about to break down? What are you going to do when your laptop's shorting? What are you going to do when you don't have the money? What are you going to do? That's grit. That's discipline. That's entrepreneurship. That's faith. That's understanding that you have to put in more work than most people. And I always hold that perspective now. I've held that perspective for a long time, but I forgot it for a bit in my life. But I'm coming back to it. And where I understand now that I have to do more than other people with less equipment than other people. And some might say, that's unfair. That is unfair. Why is God putting me in such a situation? I say God hooked me up. And that's not me trying to be holier than thou. Just imagine, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me a test with less tools than most people, because He knows that I can do more than most people. If He evened out the playing field, those people wouldn't be competition. But as per usual, only He knows. Such is life, I guess. Be able to do more with less. You'll be surprised. But either way, that's all from me. Take care, stay dangerous, be well. Assalamu alaikum.